Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment, the perfect blend of paranormal and pop culture, with your host, Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hey, what's up? I'm the host who's secretly afraid of the army of anthropomorphic mushrooms living under my bed, Joe Wakefield.
And I am, indeed, still Ryan Lang.
Hey, guys. So, for those of you joining us again, hey, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah. And for those of you joining us for the first time, you might be asking, what is it you do on this podcast? What even is this podcast?
I don't even know.
Well, I'll tell you. It's a little bit of the spooky. It's a little bit of the creepy.
Okay.
Sometimes we have a segment with cryptozoology. Other times it's a haunting or, a curse or a legend, but it's always spooky, covered by a section we like to call spooky stuff. Followed by another one, which is all about aliens. That one's disclosure discussion.
I'm just asking questions. We like to talk about UFO stories, photos, any new videos that have come out. That's what we like to talk about.
That's right. And then the second part of the show, the latter half, if you will, is
Yep.
all dedicated to pop culture and entertainment. Sometimes we're talking about celebrity deaths. We do trivia games. We occasionally have audio dramas or celebrity guest interviews. We usually have headlines in the news, but it's all entertainment. It's all pop culture. And those two sections are beginning spooky with our second pop culture come together to make the delicious moon pie of a podcast we like to call Earthling Entertainment. Welcome.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you for listening. So, all right. So my grandma's dead.
She
Well,
is.
yeah, a lot of grandmas are. But I never really knew this woman. She was my dad's mother, and he had her ashes because through the end of her life, she was with him. And my dad, unfortunately, also died. And these ashes were passed to my stepmom. Then my stepmom hits me up and says, "Do you want your grandmother's ashes?" And I said, I guess. I mean, I have no relationship with this woman. Like, what do you do, right? Like, it's because there's no, this is my stepmother. She literally was not related to her. So it's like, would you
Yeah.
take those ashes?
See, this is the problem I find with keeping ashes, that this is where it always ends up, right? Unfortunately, the people that, that these ashes mean something to, they are going to pass on as well. The flow of time takes us all. And now you got these ashes. Like, who's going to want great grandmas? Or in your case, you never met this. You really didn't know this.
I mean,
woman.
I didn't have a relationship. Like, we met, obviously, but
Right.
it's just for various family reasons, we weren't in the same state and things like that. I don't know, Ryan, but now that you've presented it that way, I kind of have a new dream. I want to collect all my family's ashes, and I want to make a crazy mausoleum in my basement. Can you imagine going into your basement with just shelves and shelves
My
of
God.
urns and dead people?
You want to come down to my basement?
Well, you gotta slur when you're asking people. if you want-
Like you're just you go over to someone's house and they're like, "Let me show you something," and they bring you downstairs and it's like, "This is my family." Like, it was just like,
Well,
oh
just-
my
That's where you
God.
gotta be like, does your family talk to you? Yeah, like
how far does this rabbit
like
hole
how
go?
how often? See, you went really creepy with it, which I get.
It
I get,
is
and
creepy.
and I respect. Me in my head, I was going like old timey Game of Thrones, like fantasy, like these are my forefathers and my ancestors. Like, it wasn't creepy to have a crypt when you were in a castle. So
Yeah.
if your house is your castle, why not keep a bunch of dead people down there?
I'm just saying
Legally,
they were also
already
just-
in an urn.
they were just tossing poop out the windows too. But like,
What are you talking about? Game of Thrones and all
I'm
the old.
just, I'm just.
Oh, we're talking
saying-
real history.
Yeah, I'm just saying they didn't have the best ideas.
They had like, I don't know, man. I was seeing one where it was like a medieval toilet, right? And what it
Mhm.
was is it was like a shaft on the side of the wall of the
Yes.
outside of the castle. So they would poop, and it was essentially like a reverse chimney or
Yeah.
a chute, if you will,
Mhm.
that just kind of launched the shit out one side of the castle.
And if
That is
anybody,
hilarious to
yes.
me.
yeah, and if anybody knows, that's where the poop smith came from in homestarrunner.com. I just really dated myself there. That's an old one,
The
but
poop smith?
the poop smith. He would take care of the poop that would come out of the castle, and because that's how. And what's funny is
I am the royal shit shoveler.
assassins would use those to make an easy kill. They would literally go up.
Gotta climb the poop chute.
I mean, that's, and I mean, it was
I mean, if
risky business, I'm sure. But
I guess if you're an assassin, you're not that worried about traipsing through shit.
yeah, and I mean, it probably, probably got the job done. And they said it happened often. Like it was a thing. So,
Ugh. So, anyways, I have my grandmother's ashes, and I'm sitting there looking at them at my shelf, and I keep thinking, there's got to be a family member who wants these. I've hit up every family member, and there's not, Ryan. There's
Well-
not. So, you know what? We've already solved it. Like, the whole second half of this conversation was going to be like, what do I do now? But no, I'm making a crypt.
well,
we need more dead people, Ryan.
or you could just like, I don't know, like you do what you want. It's your grandmother's ashes, of course. But
Sure.
like my thing would be like, I don't know, if I'm going to dump it out somewhere. Like, where did they like to go? Like, where did they, like, what was the thing? And I will go there and I'll
No.
And that's what I would try to figure out. I would be like, where did they like? Did they like the lake?
I mean,
we're in Michigan, here. So
Well, the only thing I know about this woman, and you might laugh, but I'm 100% serious, is the best way to honor her would be to mix her ashes with coffee grounds and then make a pot of coffee that was half Southern Comfort. And
Okay.
then going out and pouring one out like you do with a 40 when your homie dies.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, that's not even a bad idea.
I might, this might trigger some people because people get really touchy about death. I never have. It's just a part of life.
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll figure it out, Ryan. We'll figure it out.
That's just how I've always felt. Is ashes are kind of a strange thing. Like it's something that I feel like if you inherit ashes really meant something to you and you really wanted to keep them, you've got to make plans for those person's ashes for when you're about to die. Like I feel like that should be like, go ahead and have these buried, or something, like have like something prepared.
Well, now it's like I have more responsibility because I got to figure out what to do with everybody's ashes. Because
Exactly.
I'm looking at my bookshelf, and it's kind of funny that I didn't remember this, but I'm looking at my bookshelf. I actually have three dead people on that bookshelf. I have my dad, and he is in an alien head urn. I have my buddy Jeff, but it's only part of him. I like to think it is his left hand. And I have what? His ashes were split up.
Hey, you never know.
No, his left hand and his smile. That kid just
Oh.
lit up a room.
He really did, actually. He was
And-
funny as fuck. that kid was funny as fuck.
I think this may have taken a really morbid turn.
Well, we're talking about ashes. I've got both my.
Well, you know what Jeff would have said, because he died in his early 20s. He would have
Yeah.
said, "Roll me up in something and smoke me."
He would have. Yes,
That is. I think that might kill you in real life. I'm never gonna do it, but that is exactly what he would have wanted.
I heard a rumor that happened.
What? That someone smoked ashes in like a joint and killed themselves?
No, that someone smoked Jeff.
Oh, that's so.
I heard a rumor that someone did it.
Jeff
'Cause
was
a lot of people got some.
Jeff was quasi famous. So when he dies, there was a lot of people. There was a lot of hanger-ons. I don't believe anyone ever did that except my buddy Hasty. He may have.
Yeah.
That is the only one I think who would have
What
actually
about
done it.
maybe Shane?
I don't know. Let's not speculate about
I like
people
that I'm
that
just
the
name
listeners
dropping that people have no
the
idea.
listeners have no fucking clue. Let's not just pick out friends that we've known. But hey guys, with that, we're gonna jump into our first section of the show. Which
We are.
Yeah, and it's of course spooky stuff. Don't worry, we're gonna have the music cue in a second. And this spooky stuff it's not really a cryptid. It's more of a Native American spirit. It's a folklore. Everyone's heard of SkinWalker Ranch. Well,
Yep.
we're discussing a little bit about that, and also the SkinWalker, what it is and where it comes from. So enjoy that on this week's spooky stuff.
The SkinWalker is a shape-shifting witch of the Navajo who exists only to do harm to others. Skinwalkers are understood to have once been shamans, people of significant spiritual power, who chose to use their gifts for evil instead of good.
They always choosing the evils.
The simplest definition of a skinwalker, drawing on popular non-native culture, would be someone who embraces the dark side of the Force.
Yeah. So it's basically just taking all the power and turning it inward and being a dick.
That's right. Skinwalkers can assume the shape of any animal or human they choose, and might also possess someone in the same way an evil spirit, ghost, or demon was thought to do. The Navajo name for this entity translates as, by means of it, it goes on all fours, due to its penchant for taking the form of an animal.
Yes.
Whatever shape it chooses, its intent is never good, and it is difficult to detect a skinwalker. They are understood as among the most dangerous of Native American supernatural creatures.
I mean, absolutely, because like they said, okay, so you got this Indian shaman who he's like an animorph. He can turn into any animal he wants. He can turn into anybody he wants. So imagine how much manipulation you could do if you could turn into someone's, mother, father, lover, brother, and just come up and just like mess with their head
Yeah.
and then lure them out somewhere, turn into like a freaking, I don't know, a wolf, I guess, and just tear them apart. Like there's a lot of hokiness there.
I mean, yeah, Witch of the Wilds, they're always said to like be able to shapeshift and stuff like that. In the game Dragon Age Origins, you have a Witch of the Wilds in your crew, and that's her power. She can turn into a bear. She can turn into other stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I think what was it, The Hobbit, maybe? Well, they had Bjorn. I think Bjorn
Yeah.
was I don't did they call him a skinwalker? But in any case, or a skin shifter, he turned into a bear, a giant
Yeah.
bear. And he
Yeah.
was like the last of a bit race of people who lived in the mountains.
So, I mean, maybe skinwalkers do exist.
I'm just saying, shape shifting is a really cool thought that has been around forever. It's in pop culture, it's in history, it's in folklore.
Yep.
So a creature like this could very well exist because with this much reference to something like that, maybe we saw something similar. I mean,
I think,
octopuses can do it.
yeah, I think so. The legend of the shape-shifting entity known as the Skinwalker has largely been dismissed as a hoax. After all, it is difficult to believe that a humanoid figure has been transforming into a four-legged animal and terrorizing families in the American Southwest for decades, if not longer.
Natives in disguise.
But what? But
Too
while
much?
that was good. But while there's no scientific proof, the Navajo Skinwalker does have deep roots in Native American lore. As for the rest of America, it got its first real taste of the Navajo legend in 1996. A newspaper story chronicled a Utah family's traumatizing experience with the supposed creature that included cattle mutilations and disappearances, UFO sightings, and the appearance of crop circles. We will get back to the Sherman family in a moment, but for now, let's discuss more about the legendary creature.
Let's.
So, what is a skinwalker? As the Navajo English Dictionary explains, that the skinwalker has been translated from the Navajo Yi Nadlushai. This literally means by means of it, it goes on all fours. And the Yi Nadlushai is merely one of many varieties of skinwalkers. The Pueblo people, the Apache, the Hopi, have their own legends involving the skinwalker. Some traditions concerning Native American monsters believe that skinwalkers are born of a benevolent medicine man who abuses indigenous magic for evil. The medicine man is then given mythical powers of evil that vary from tradition to tradition. But the power all traditions mention is the ability to turn into or possess an animal or person. Other traditions believe a man, woman, or child can become a skinwalker should they commit any kind of deep-seated taboo.
I wonder what that means. Like just doing something against tribal law. You know what I mean? Like what? I guess taboo, just by definition, would be anything that would be against what people consider proper or normal.
Right. So once again we see a legend being used as a, oh, don't do that, or you'll be gotten by the skinwalker.
I mean, it makes sense because they also have, like we talked about, the Wendigo, which basically is if you eat human flesh, if you're a cannibal and you eat human flesh out of desperation, you become a Wendigo. So yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's the one thing that talked me out of it,
So yeah, I was on the fence, but that whole turning into a Wendigo, that was a deal breaker.
In Native American lore, the skinwalkers are described as being mostly animalistic physically, even when they are in human form. They are reportedly near impossible to kill except with a bullet or knife dipped in white ash.
I kind of like that.
Little more is known about the purported being, as the Navajo are staunchly reluctant
I like reluctant. I like reluctant.
to discuss it with outsiders, and often even amongst each other. Traditional belief portends that speaking about the malevolent beings is not only bad luck, but
It's also bad juju.
it makes their appearance more likely.
That sucks, but I get that because I used to have this thing when I was a little kid where, basically if I watched a horror movie like Freddy Krueger or any of that and I had the VHS, I wasn't safe while holding that VHS. I could put it in the VCR and watch the movie and that's fine. And if I take the movie out, I could put it away. But in that moment that I'm holding the VHS, that is when I am at risk.
My sir, I may or may not have hid the VHS tape for An American Werewolf in London after I had a bad nightmare.
Right?
I'm not kidding. I hid it. My mom found it. Like, I put it in like a china cabinet.
You're like,
And she was just like, "What the hell is this doing in there?" I'm like,
I
"Ah,
didn't
you
want
rem-
it. I
you
didn't want it to get
reminded-
out.
Yeah, I like forgot. And then I was haunted by it again.
Son of a biscuit.
Just saying, that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and I had a very vivid dream with that wolf. Like, that wolf was fucking scary.
But it's the belief that you have as a kid where for me, like the VHS, as we touch it, it's almost like a totem for that scariness we felt, right?
Yeah.
So I get the Native Americans belief of like, if we talk about it, it brings it into reality. Like, they're going to talk about Harry Potter in just a
I
second.
was just about to say
But
it.
don't say Voldemort's name.
Yeah, I was just about to say it. Native American writer and historian Adrian Keene explained how J.K. Rowling's use of similar entities in her Harry Potter series affected indigenous people who believed in the Skinwalker. What happens when Rowling pulls this in is we as Native people are now opened up to a barrage of questions about these beliefs and traditions, said Keene. But these are not things that need or should be discussed by outsiders. Now let's jump back into the Sherman family story. In 1996, a couple of outsiders were introduced to the legend after a series of inexplicable events occurred at their new ranch. Terry and Gwen Sherman first observed UFOs of varying sizes hovering above their property. Then, 7 of their cows died or disappeared. One was reportedly found with a hole cut in the center of its left eyeball. Another had its rectum carved out. And I remember hearing about this. It was like perfectly surgically removed.
Yeah, because they removed the organ, the intestine, the whole thing. It sounds funny if you want to be a kid about it, but surgically removed that organ.
And there's no way that anyone with just like a med kit could just come up and do that. Like, that required
Well, it would take medical training, I think is the point.
incredible,
Yeah.
and equipment. The cattle the Shermans did find dead were both surrounded by an odd chemical smell. One was found dead in a clump of trees. The branches above appeared to have been cut off. One of the cows that vanished had left tracks in the snow that suddenly stopped.
See, that one I like is where it's like when you get the footsteps that just go into the water and that's it. You're like, oh no.
If it snowed, it's hard for a 1,200 to 1,400 pound animal to just walk off without leaving tracks, or to stop and walk backwards completely and never miss their tracks.
That cow is very light on his feet.
Right. It was just gone. It was very bizarre. Perhaps most terrifying was the voices Terry Sherman heard while walking his dogs late one night. Sherman reported that the voices spoke in a language he didn't recognize. He estimated that they came from about 25 feet away, but he couldn't see a thing. The dogs went berserk, barked, and ran hastily back to the house.
Dude, that would be the most horrifying thing in the entire world if I'm walking in the woods and it's like I hear someone, can't see them, and they're close enough. Your dog knows they're there. That I don't know if I might have a heart attack. Like, that is insanely horrifying.
I am turning around and running as fast as I can.
All
Which
right.
is not very fast.
Yeah, right. Ryan's knee pops out.
Yep, and then I'm dead.
Yeah. Oh man, we got to do any slasher film together, bud, because you're the way I'm gonna live.
Damn.
Yeah.
So true. You don't have to outrun the Skinwalker. You just got to outrun me.
Yeah, but yeah, but since I said that, this is part of the movie, and I'm the asshole, and I'm gonna die first from something stupid I do.
Well, and yeah, after my knee like explodes and I'm on the ground like crawling, it'll kill you in front of me like slowly, so like to torture me.
I guess it depends on like what kind of movie we're watching, whether or not you die at that point. But yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Skinwalker.
Skinwalkers. The Sherman family weren't the only ones to be traumatized on the property. After they moved out, several new owners experienced eerily similar encounters with these creatures. And today, the ranch has become a hub of paranormal research that's aptly renamed Skinwalker Ranch.
I seen that show.
While paranormal investigators probe the property with novel inventions, what they seek has a history that is centuries old. After the Shermans sold their property, these incidents only continued, and talk of the Skinwalker intensified. After the 1996 incident, enthusiasts entered the scene to try to answer the big question: are Skinwalkers real? UFO enthusiast and Las Vegas realtor Robert Bigelow bought the ranch for $200,000 in 1996. That's a lot of money back then.
I mean, I think it's a lot of money now. I
It's a
don't
lot
have
of money now.
$200,000.
Well, right,
Yeah,
but I'm saying it's quite a bit. He-
$200,000. I'd make a film.
He established the National Institute for Discovery Science on the grounds and put up substantial surveillance. The goal was to assess what exactly had been going on there. On March 12, 1997, Bigelow's employee, biochemist Dr. Colm Kelleher, spotted a large humanoid figure perched in a tree, detailed in his book, Hunt for the Skinwalker. The creature was 20 feet off the ground and about 50 feet away, Kelleher wrote. The large creature that lay motionless, almost casually, in the tree. The only indication of the beast's presence was the penetrating yellow light of the unblinking eyes as they stared fixedly back into the light.
Oh. Oh, scary.
That's not scary at all.
Yeah, it's fine. This is fine. We're fine.
Kelleher fired at the supposed Skinwalker with a rifle, but it fled. It left claw marks and imprints on the ground. Kelleher described the evidence as signs of a bird of prey, maybe a raptor print, but huge, and from the depth of the print, a very heavy creature.
Yeah. Right? That's what we were talking about the other week with like those fake shoes of like Bigfoot or a giraffe, like we talked about, where it's like you have to be heavy enough to imprint into the ground.
Correct.
So
So
that was a big bird.
So that checked that box. This was only a few days after another unnerving incident. The ranch manager and his wife had just tagged a calf before their dog began acting strangely. They went back to investigate 45 minutes later, and in the field, in broad daylight, found the calf and its body cavity empty, said Kelleher.
Yeah, so that happened quick.
Most people know if an 84-pound calf is killed, there is blood spread around. It was as if all of the blood had been removed in a very thorough way. The distressing activity continued well into the summer. 3 eyewitnesses saw a very large animal in a tree, and also another large animal at the base of the tree, continued Kelleher. We had videotape equipment, night vision equipment. We started hunting around the tree for the carcass, and there was no evidence whatsoever. Ultimately, Bigelow and his research team experienced over 100 incidents on the property, but couldn't amass the kind of evidence that scientific publication would accept with credulity.
Yeah, they didn't buy it. You didn't give us enough proof.
Bigelow sold the ranch to a company called Adamantium Holdings for $4.5 million.
Okay, so he definitely, because he bought it for 200,000. Like,
Yeah.
what was it, like 20 years earlier, essentially,
And
30
this-
years earlier. Yeah.
And this was in 2016. So he bought it Yeah, so
1996. Yeah.
yeah. So not
So,
bad.
yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Plus, can we talk about what was it? Adamantium?
Yeah,
That is a pretty dope name.
that is a pretty
Because
dope name.
obviously that is a fake metal from the Marvel comics, I believe. And I believe it's Wolverine's claws are made of adamantium.
What do you mean it's fake? It's not fake.
No, vibranium's fake. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad, guys.
Okay,
My bad.
okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
But unobtainium is totally real.
Oh, Avatar.
It is so unobtainable.
That's Avatar. Sorry. Continue.
Avatar. Nevertheless,
Nevertheless.
the research on SkinWalker Ranch is more sophisticated and secretive than ever. There are many stories about skinwalkers online in such forums as Reddit. These experiences commonly occur on Native American reservations and are allegedly only prevented by the blessings of medicine men. While it's difficult to discern just how truthful these accounts are, the descriptions are almost always the same. A four-legged beast with a disturbingly human, albeit marred face, and orange-red glowing eyes.
See, the glowing eyes is what gets me. That's just scary no matter what creature it's attached to. I don't care if it's like a tiny little thing. Like it could be a chipmunk, but if it looks at me and its red eyes are glowing in the dark, I'm running from that chipmunk.
It's like, oh my god, it's Corey Taylor.
What?
His new mask has glowing eyes.
Oh. That's a Slipknot reference,
That
guys.
was a deep cut new news on Slipknot right there.
Music mumbles.
Music mumbles. Those who claim to have seen these skinwalkers also said that they were fast and made hellish noise. Let us know what's going on in there, Joe.
Well, in my head, it was just, like you imagine. All right, you're really tall, you're really skinny, you're sticking your arms above your head, but you're just flailing your arms like a one of those balloon guys for
Yes.
like car dealerships.
Yes.
And the hellish sound you're making is just oh, you're just flapping around. That is just the silliest thing, like almost like a movie in my head. It ran from screen right to left and just was like, oh!
Hellish, indeed.
It made me laugh.
Skinwalkers have crept back into popular culture through television shows such as HBO's The Outsider and the History Channel's upcoming The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch documentary series. For horror-centric programming, a virtually demonic being that roams the countryside is rather perfect.
It's true. I didn't know the Outsider is based on a Stephen King book, I believe, and I didn't know that was about the Skinwalker. I had never read it yet.
It's funny, I was just talking about that. That was one I didn't care for. There were certain like there were a lot of parts of the book that I liked and stuff, but overall it wasn't my favorite, I'll admit. But I only listen, I listen to Audible.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, since taking over Skinwalker Ranch, Adamantium has installed equipment all over the property, including cameras, alarm systems, infrared, and Wolverine. Most alarming.
Wolverine.
Most
Weapon X is there to stop any trespassers.
Most alarming.
He's gonna go berserker on you.
I had to throw that in.
No,
It
that
just
was
said
good.
Ed Moore.
That was good. You know what that was, Ryan? That was good podcasting.
Thank you, bud. So most alarming, however, are the accounts from company employees. According to Vice, employee Thomas Winterton was one of several who randomly experienced skin inflammation and nausea after working on the grounds. Some had to be hospitalized with no clear medical diagnosis for their condition. This and the following account parallel some of the inexplicable events featured in sci-fi shows like The Outsider, as Winterton reported. I take my truck up the road, and as I start to get closer, I start to get really scared. Just this feeling that takes over. Then I hear this voice, as clear as you and me talking right now, that says, "Stop. Turn around." I lean out the window with my spotlight out and start searching around. Nothing. Despite this dreadful experience, Winterton reported that he isn't leaving Skinwalker Ranch anytime soon. It's like the ranch calls to you, he said with a wry smile. Like that sounded very Smeagol-like. Like I'm not leaving.
It did. I like that.
like, like so that is creepy. So it's like it's almost like what if it's possessed him?
Ooh.
Like
I don't know,
we
man.
Skinwalker.
I'm thinking like some weird thing, like radiation poison or some weird magnetic field,
I've heard
something
of
that's basically
yeah.
driving everyone batty. Where it's like, what if? And to be fair, I don't think this is real, but what if like it was all just them tripping and they were all, and that's why they're getting sick, like it's all just messing with everyone's head. That seems like a good plan for a movie,
Yeah.
because in a movie you got to wrap it up at the end, unless you're Marvel and you're trying to make a billion sequels. So that is an easy way to do that, right? It's why so many movies fall into the trap of, we have this big bad and he has an army, but if we kill the big bad, all the army dies, because it takes too long to be like, we got to fight each one of these guys forever. So it's the same thing, right? Like it'll wrap it up. It's like, oh, nothing. The mystery is it was all in our heads. And it was because of this meteor that was like radiating some kind of, you know, like I said, magnetic poisons. That
I
doesn't
want to
make sense. But if it's a cheap enough sci-fi movie, it doesn't have to make sense.
no, and I want to say like I remember a creature like the Skinwalker being in what was the movie The Ritual,
Ooh,
and
I like that movie.
it was good, right? And that was sort of like it was almost like a cross between a Skinwalker and like a Wendigo almost. Like it kind of had like both. I mean, both are Native American folklore,
I,
so
I I do believe that was its own thing. Like it actually was its, I don't know. But
that's what it reminded me of anyway.
fair enough. Well, a lot of the similar aesthetics to the monster for sure.
But yeah, I don't think I'll be staying at Skinwalker Ranch anytime soon.
I would love to stay at Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, like I said
You sure
before on
about
this,
that?
yes, because I want to see something crazy and supernatural, because I personally have not seen a UFO. I would like to see a UFO. I personally have not seen a shape-shifting demon in the woods. Now, are you gonna die? Well, there's a good chance, but at least you would die being like, huh, the world has a little bit of magic, Ryan.
All right, well, I'll go with you. You be my teddy bear. You can protect me.
Oh my God, that sounded so creepy. I will not. But I will go with you, and we'll both have machetes. And who are we kidding? We're going to have our phones. There's no way the wife wouldn't want to text. They'd be so mad. But I'm going to go to the Skinwalker Ranch. We might die. There's no way that I'm not having to text every 20 minutes.
I got a wiffle ball bat.
Oh man. Well, hey, that was this week's spooky stuff. It was fun, because that one kind of, it started out where it was just, we're focusing on the monster, and then the more research I did, it was like, well, I got to talk about Skinwalker Ranch. And then yeah, so it became a little bit more of a segment. I enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, and it has everything because of UFOs. I've heard of Bigfoot stories at Skinwalker. You hear of
Oh
so many
yeah.
portals. You hear of portals, interdimensional beings, everything, ghosts, from the most classic tale to the stretch of the imagination. Maybe it's just an on-land Bermuda Triangle, like you were
See,
saying, like
that's,
some
I
kind
love
of
that.
yeah, like that's what you were like some kind of something with the poles and where
Yeah,
it's
well,
at,
that in
and
that situation, it would be like, the veil between worlds, like the
yes,
parallel dimensions is thinner, so we can see and have crossover between many different realities, but yet all on Earth. Pa-pa-pa-pa-cha-pa-ta-ta.
and they saw cows and were like that,
We want to
that,
eat that.
like right,
Bring
like
my scalpel.
it's like all right, we're
I'm
gonna
gonna get
leave.
weird with it.
It's like we're gonna leave them a thank you note in their crop circle here. Here we go, thank you.
Well, speaking of aliens, I
Ooh.
think it's about time to jump into.
Disclosure discussion. Ha 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 ha. It's about aliens and stuff.
Strange streak left behind by UFO passing over Mexican volcano.
Hmm?
This comes to us from coasttocoastam.com. A weird webcam video from Mexico shows the moment when a mysterious streak appears to ascend to the top of a volcano and then off into the sky, leaving some to wonder if the strange visual was caused by a UFO.
Yeah, like a UFO chemtrail, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, why not? We're doing it.
I mean, yeah, it could just be some reverse engineered alien spacecraft that's piloted by us doing the job now. That's right.
Conspiracy.
The curious scene was reportedly spotted on Tuesday evening by way of a live stream that overlooks the, forgive me, Popocatépetl volcano. I want to give it another shot.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Popocatépetl volcano.
Popocatépetl?
Something like that.
Okay.
Popocatépetl. In the footage, a long dotted line appears at the base of the site leading up to its summit. Thought to have been created by something flying over the volcano, the streak is soon joined by a second winding trail that can be seen extending upward into the sky. The footage further fueled speculation that Popocatépetl is the location of a secret alien base, which is the theory that came about following numerous UFO sightings at the legendary location over the years. That said, more skeptical viewers have suggested that the peculiar streak may be a digital artifact. What? A digital artifact
Yeah.
created by a fast-moving bug that happened to closely cross to the front of the camera, or something similarly prosaic.
Yeah.
I always hate that excuse because it looks blurred. Like you can tell the difference.
Well, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. The video could be analyzed because there are definitely people who could look through the video and
Yeah.
tell you exactly if it's like put in artificially or if it is something like, a close, something passing in front of the camera close up. I just I think people know that there's been sightings here before. So does this video doesn't mean it's real? Maybe, maybe not. But that doesn't mean anything as far as there being sightings at this location because there have been.
Right.
So I will say that was this aliens? I don't know.
I don't know. Enough for
But
them to speculate that it could have a whole base there that they've seen enough of them.
yeah. I mean, like in my head, I always jump to like this like cartoony situation, right? Where couples doing a gender reveal thing and they blow up this container and the guy gets launched cartoony style, like
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
this little smoke trail.
I'm pretty sure that's happened a few times.
I just like the idea of nonsense being misconstrued as phenomenon.
Well, I mean, let's face it, gender reveal parties are nonsense, but
Yeah, they almost burned down half of California while I was living there because
Yeah.
of a gender reveal party. Could you
Yeah.
imagine being that kid and like finding out at like age 10 or 11 and be like, your parents are the ones that fucking killed all the
Dude.
koalas in Australia?
just the whole
Like,
town.
oh my God.
The whole town just turns and looks at you, and you're just like, it's a boy. Like, so,
Yay. Yeah, what? You got to have like Uncle Carl in the back going like,
drunk as hell.
Exactly.
Uncle Carl is always so drunk at the gender reveals. That's what he does.
It's what he does. Speaking of Uncle Carl, we have another disclosure discussion for you. That is nothing to do with Uncle Carl.
News helicopter films odd orbs soaring through the sky over New York City.
As opposed to those normal orbs.
This brought to you by Uncle Carl. A New York City television station's helicopter captured footage of a weird orb-shaped object that cruised through the sky over the Hudson River. The odd UFO reportedly appeared towards the end of an otherwise unremarkable segment on the congestion pricing that aired on Fox 5 New York earlier this week.
Weird plug.
Weird. In the helicopter shot above the Hudson River, a small circular object zips through the sky until it flies out of frame. While the news station producer may not have noticed the UFO when they put the segment together, viewers at home and anchor Dan Bowens did, with the reporter subsequently posting the clip on social media to see if anyone could identify the puzzling orb. To that end, Harvard professor and Galileo Project founder, forgive me if I get his name wrong, Avi Loeb, told the New York Post that the UFO was most likely an optical artifact from the helicopter glass in front of the camera. That said, an individual at the television station posited to the paper that the orb was a drone that looked like it was moving at tremendous speed due to the footage being from the perspective of the fast-moving helicopter. Meanwhile, many people online offered their own theories, including a balloon, some kind of secret aircraft, and, of course, aliens.
Aliens.
What do you make of the mysterious object inadvertently filmed over New York City, Joe?
What do I make of it? I don't know. Orbs are like, they're not a new thing. Like, people see them a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes people are like, oh, it's ball lightning if it happens at night. Obviously,
Right.
this wasn't the case. Could it just be like the one gentleman, Avi Loeb, said, could it just be a lens reflection or whatever?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
But there have been so many different things. And like even Foo Fighters back in the day, people have referred to sometimes as just bright lights.
Yep.
So I think there's something to it. I mean, the thing is, New York City, obviously, it's like if something happens in Chicago, New York, Dubai, LA, I mean, there's enough people there that you tend to have witnesses. So anytime something happens there, I tend to believe it more because
Yeah.
it's usually not just one person. Now, the real question is, did anybody see this on anything besides the footage? Like, is there anybody who witnessed it and like actually just saw it without it, without the camera, without the video? That's the question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because that would be to me if it's real or not, right? Because it's like, oh, we also have 10 people who were on like a rooftop party and they just saw this floating orb. Then you'd be like, well, shit, yeah, it's absolutely real.
Yeah. And this isn't the first time that we've heard about people just seeing balls of light. It's a very common UFO to see. You hear about it often. So that to me screams when we talk about interdimensional kind of craft, like something that we literally don't even see its outline. They're just seeing balls of light. So to me, that just screams something else. And honestly, I have a tendency to believe these kind of stories just because I've seen footage that looks like balls of light moving and stuff like that, and you can't explain it. It makes no sense. It's not a flare. It's not any kind of optical illusion that I could tell. And
So you're going with you think it's real.
I do. I
Oh,
do
nice.
think when people describe balls of light, I believe it. I believe in them.
I love it when we can say we think it's real. I just love weird things that are real. I like
Real world weird.
KFC candles will bring a fried chicken and buttery biscuit aroma to your home.
finally.
This comes to us from Nerdist.com. KFC's old 11 herbs and spices fire log used to be the perfect way to taunt your family.
That's right. They had a actual fire log.
I
Like,
remember this.
This is amazing.
You could throw it in the fireplace and trick your loved ones into thinking you'd brought home a bucket of crispy original fried chicken. That food-scented log had one major drawback, though. You could only use it if you had a fireplace, and obviously not everyone does.
Can you imagine camping and you put that log in, you just drag bears and shit?
Oh, that's
It'd be horrifying. Like all these carnivores are coming out. Like we smell fried chicken. You're like, oh no.
Like, yeah, there's no way that wouldn't end. Like, even without bears, it'd just be like 1,000 raccoons.
They're just all staring at you. Just a bunch of glowing eyes in the woods. It's like, I think
Where's
I
the
think we're gonna
chicken?
go into the tent now.
Where's the fucking chicken?
Exactly.
So, this holiday season, KFC is making it easy for everyone in every kind of home to fool their family. The fast food chain has partnered with Homesick on 2 KFC candles that smell like a bucket of chicken and a buttery biscuit. Do you want your home to smell like KFC without buying KFC? Well, that's weird. KFC is delicious, so you should just go out and get a bucket.
Yeah.
If for some reason you just want to enjoy the smell without the actual fried chicken, you can now fill your house with the aroma of 11 herbs and spices with Homesick's new food-scented collaboration, which we first heard about at Food Beast. The KFC bucket of chicken candle is exactly what it sounds like. It recreates the smell of fried chicken kernel style. Of course, it wouldn't be a feast collection of smells without the corresponding buttery biscuit candle. You can probably guess what that one smells like. I'll bet it's amazing.
That's right. You know what, man? KFC is crafty. I mean, that's a crafty marketing thing. Like doing scented candles, like beyond the fact that, yeah, it's weird. You might get one for a novelty's sake, but KFC's always done weird stuff. They did a
Yeah.
sandwich once where they got no bread and it was like 2 pieces of chicken.
I
And
remember.
in between the pieces of chicken was bacon and cheese. It was the most like, and not in a good way, it was the most like American thing I've ever seen in my life. It was like, oh my God. That food right there is guaranteed illegal in at least 15 countries around the world.
That was back when America had taste.
I mean, don't misunderstand. I'm sure it was delicious, but it could not have been healthy at all. Not even like remotely.
Who cares?
Yeah, I guess if you're going to KFC, you're not really worried about your diet at that point in time.
Yeah, who gives a shit? I am here for that. 11 herbs and spices, Joe. And the gravy. They didn't even mention the gravy. They missed out.
Ooh, well, a gravy candle? I would get no, I couldn't. I would be so hungry all the time.
That's the problem, right? That's the problem.
Earthling Entertainment special report! The horror series From has been renewed for a 4th season at MGM+. Oh, wow! Netflix cancels that Scott Pilgrim animated show. There will be no season 2. Monsters Inc. Land replaces the Muppet Courtyard. Go to hell, Muppets! Disney World says goodbye. That's right, monsters are in. You are out. Earthling Entertainment special report.
Calling all comic fans, it's time to feed your brain at Green Brain Comics, where the freshest new issues, graphic novels, and manga hit the shelves every week. Whether you're looking for the hottest new series or the latest small press sensation, we've got it all. Every genre for every age, Green Brain Comics is your one-stop shop for all things graphic storytelling. Got questions? Our friendly staff knows their stuff. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the world of comics, we've got recommendations that'll keep you coming back for more. And don't forget to check out our special events. Green Brain Comics is not just a store, it's a community. Located in East Downtown Dearborn, we are at Green Brain Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Shop online at greenbraincomics.com, and remember to feed your brain at Green Brain Comics.
Well, I do believe that brings us to the second part of the show, the pop culture and entertainment section. We got a lot of stuff for you guys, and including a Tattered Tales this week.
Yeah.
Well, it's just always fun. But we're going to start out like, we usually do, with a little bit of music. So here's
Music Mumbles.
9 Inch Nails were haunted while recording The Downward Spiral. This comes to us from whatculture.com. There's always been a bit of horror that lingered throughout every aspect of 9 Inch Nails' work, being influenced by the more goth styles of acts like Depeche Mode and The Cure. Trent Reznor has always understood the power of tapping into the more primal and pitch black sides of the human soul. Throughout songs...
Even that statement is goth.
Yeah, it is. Throughout songs like Wish and Head Like a Hole. When he needed to take it that one step further, though, he needed a bit of a change of scenery. Slowly crafting The Downward Spiral as one man's descent into madness, Trent moved into a gothic-looking house on Cielo Drive in California to get a more ominous mood, christening the house Le Pig because of the word being written on the door when he walked in. Setting up shop in the different ambient rooms in the house, Trent slowly began to realize where he was staying during these sessions. Just 30 years before, this was the house where Sharon Tate was brutally murdered by the Charles Manson's family. Ooh. With the pig sign on the door being written out in Tate's blood.
Oh, I thought it was the same one. Like they didn't leave that on the door. Because otherwise, I don't know. That was in the 60s. So, I mean, I feel like maybe they replaced the door and painted it on there to be like, this is the Sharon Tate house. But they're not saying that that's the same door, because then I say this is a silly story that I do not believe.
Maybe the door just continuously bleeds.
You know what? I'm back in. Now I'm creeped out. I pooped a little. Let's go.
While the digs did provide a subtle, spooky element to the recordings, Trent also understood enough to not overstay his welcome, trying not to profit off of the death of another celebrity. The actual lavish house has since been tore down in the area, but all of that eerie energy can still be felt every time you turn on this record. I
Yeah.
can attest to that.
Yeah, it is definitely eerie, and of course they tore the house down. I just feel like when something is so high profile, maybe it's a good idea. I mean, you keep historical buildings when something significant happened, but it feels fucked up to keep a building just because somebody was brutally murdered. Maybe tear that one down.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with tearing it down, but who knows? Yeah, maybe that didn't do the trick. It's still creepy, still haunted.
Still haunted. Speaking of death, unfortunately, we have another one of a celebrity who's left us. So enjoy this week's.
Remember that guy? Remember that gal? Well, now they're dead.
Chuck Woolery, host of Wheel of Fortune and Love Connection, dies at 83. This comes to us from HollywoodReporter.com. Chuck Woolery, the charismatic game show host who kicked off the long run of Wheel of Fortune before spending 11 years playing matchmaker on Love Connection, has died. He was 83. Woolery died Saturday at his Texas home outside Austin. His friend and podcast co-host, Mark Young, told The Hollywood Reporter. Young also posted about it on X. Woolery started out in show business as a singer in the orchestral pop band The Avant-Garde, whose most famous song, Naturally Stoned, made it to number 40 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1968.
Things you didn't know about Chuck Woolery.
Things you didn't know. The tune later served as the theme song for his very short-lived game show network reality series in 2003. Woolery also had his own CBS daytime morning show, which didn't last long in competition with Live with Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, they were huge. That was like the big daytime show.
It
so
was.
That's kind of. I remember I went and saw when I was living in Hollywood. I went and saw the Jeff Probst show, and he's the guy he's the Survivor host, and he had a daytime talk show. And I've never seen it, but I went to the filming, and they had Danica Patrick there as as the guest, and they gave us all a free Xbox game.
Excellent.
I know, it was a really weird experience, but and I think I got paid like $30 or $40.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, back to this guy who died.
Yes, he also Chuck Woolery, co-hosted the Family Channel's Home and Family and was the face of other game shows, including Lingo on the Game Show Network, Greed on Fox, and rebooted The Dating Game for syndication.
Yeah, a lot of game shows. He was the game show guy, and
He
apparently
was.
in the 60s he had a pop song about getting stoned.
Who knew? In addition to his wife, survivors include his sons, Michael and Sean, and his daughter, Melissa. Chuck Woolery, you will be missed.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is a lot of times when older celebrities pass, you can say that I'm not really familiar with their work, but the Game Show Network was on a lot. So it's like, I did know this guy's work. And it was like, I didn't know about his 60s music stuff, but now I'm interested. I can't lie. I kind of want to look up that song.
He did. I just heard about it because I heard about him passing, and I think it said he did the Love Connection for 11 years.
Wow.
He did Wheel of Fortune for a while, but something happened. There was like a weird contract dispute, and that's why he lost Wheel of Fortune. So
you know a lot more than I thought.
I just heard about it, so yes, I kind of just learned a little bit about it myself actually, but yeah, dude, R.I.P. What a legend.
Yeah, and 80s, man, you living in your 80s is nothing to turn your nose up to.
Oh, dude, and you know he had a great life. Like, come on, man, that's your job.
You got
like
game show money.
It's the easiest job on earth, right? Like,
I don't want to disparage anybody who's held the job, but I'm just saying, someone who's with some of those pretty ladies that were up there to just smile and point at show boxes, maybe he got to. I'm just saying, spend some time with them.
It was like I said, it was the easiest gig in showbiz.
And that was the
It really
70s.
is.
He did a love game show in the 70s.
That's right.
Let's talk about key parties.
That's right.
Well, anyways, sir, I tip my hat to you.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that brings us to this next segment, something that we've been doing kind of new lately. We try to do one a month. This is the new Tattered Tales, which is an audio drama. I was able to be a part of last month's. I really suggest you listen to that one, too, if you haven't. That was our Halloween episode. I got to play a shape-shifting house creature that ate people.
Yeah,
And it was sweet.
It was a good one.
It was a good one, and it was fun to do. I've been listening to Tattered Tales for quite a long time now. Joe's been doing this, and I love having it a part of the podcast. It's really cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. And this week is kind of a fun one. The screenplay won a bunch of awards while I was still in film school.
Nice.
And originally we wanted to do this as a thesis film. Because I wrote it for a buddy, he was going to direct it, and it became unmanageably expensive because it has a lot to do. It's a period piece. And it was supposed to be all steampunky. Well, since this is an audio drama, you might have to imagine some of those gear aesthetics. But this is a fun audio drama we are calling The Hermit and the Automatons.
1952. An elderly man, Finn, lays on his deathbed, struggling to breathe. After a moment, a priest walks into the room.
Thank you for coming, Father.
Not at all, my son. I understand you want to give final confession.
Yes, Father. I'm afraid that if I don't atone for my sins, I will be damned for eternity.
I see. Then let us thank the Lord that I made it to you on time. Please, my son, begin.
I have lived quite a life, and I've always tried to be a good man. But even I want to tell you about the man I killed.
1887. Finn, now in his mid-20s, walks through the wilderness. He's dressed in hiking and camping gear. Despite the fact that he looks tattered by the elements, he wears quality clothing and walks with great confidence and stride. It is clear that he comes from high society.
In my youth, I found myself afflicted by an insatiable wanderlust. I was born into wealth and was due to inherit my family's empire once I finished my studies. So naturally, I was putting it off. I wasn't my father and was in no hurry to reveal that to the world. He was a man, chiseled from stone, by a lifetime of experience and struggles. Something that, at that point, I knew very little about. My upbringing was anything but a crucible in which men are forged. I was as soft as linen, and thus far, unfit to lead anything. I set out to see what I could of the world. 3 years into my adventure, I stumbled upon the strangest and perhaps the most important person I ever encountered.
Finn hikes through the wilderness until he hears the sound of wolves howling nearby. He cannot see where they are coming from, but it is clear that he is being hunted. Finn sprints to get away from danger. Eventually, he comes across a strange little house tucked away among the shadows. He runs to the front door. He frantically pounds on the door. It swings open. Standing in the doorway is a beautiful young woman.
Hello?
The woman's voice comes from her, but her mouth doesn't move. She simply stares at Finn with a blank expression. The emotionless woman spooks Finn, but the sound of the wolves' howl prompts him to enter the home anyway. Finn enters the main living space of the home, then returns his attention to the woman. She robotically turns towards Finn, then takes a few steps forward and stops. He slowly moves towards her to investigate. She remains motionless as he waves his hand in front of her face.
Hello?
Once again, her voice is muffled and her mouth does not move. Finn jumps back in shock and fear. Finn approaches the woman again and slowly reaches for her hand. He tries to take her pulse. That's when he discovers a seam running from her palm and up her arm. In fact, her entire body is covered with patches of skin, meticulously sewn together. Terrified, Finn screams and falls back. A man in his late 50s enters from a back room. He is bearded and unkempt. His clothes are dirty and held together by leather straps and recycled metal parts. He has glasses and wears a top hat decorated with copper pieces and old clock gears.
Who's in my home, disturbing my much-needed rest? I'll ask you again, boy. Who are you, and what are you doing in my home?
Are you a witch, sir?
Of course not. Don't be a fool.
Here I find you, in the middle of nowhere, with a corpse as a servant girl. And you are so bold as to claim me dim when you so clearly hold dominion over the dead. Certainly there is some sort of black magic at work here.
You seem like a well-educated young man. You can't possibly believe in such nonsense.
Yes, but I am also a God-fearing man. And I know the devil's work when I see it. She spoke without moving her lips. There was no soul in her eyes.
I assure you, dear boy, there are no supernatural forces at work here.
Laszlo walks over to the woman and steps behind her. He signals Finn to join him.
Look at this.
Laszlo opens a metal door on Nora's back, revealing gears and other mechanical mechanisms needed to wind the automaton.
Do you see? She is an automaton. Little more than gears and springs. She's basically a giant clock.
But how does she speak?
An internal phonograph, my dear boy. A device for the mechanical reproduction of sound using vibration recorded onto the surface of rotating cylinders. A going-away gift from my dear friend Edison.
Laszlo grabs a key from around his neck and puts it into a keyhole on Nora's back. He turns the key to wind her up.
As for why her mouth didn't move, she simply needs to be wound up.
Laszlo closes the door on Nora's back, walks around to face her. He waves his hands in front of her face.
Hello.
There. Do you see?
But where did you obtain the human skin for this abomination?
Human skin. It's pig skin. There's not a beast alive that looks more like our own flesh than that of swine. I assure you, I'm no murderer.
Tell that to the pigs.
Indeed. Well, it has been a pleasure, but if you don't mind, I need to get my rest. I've had quite enough from rude, unwanted visitors for one night. Thank you for stopping by. Please don't return. There's the door.
Laszlo gestures towards the door. The pack of wolves can be heard outside the house.
Please, sir, just let me stay the night. By the sounds of it, if you refuse me shelter, I will certainly not see the morning.
Very well. Come with me.
Laszlo leads Finn out to an adjacent room. Finn lays in his bed sleeping. He tosses and turns, trying to fight his way out of a nightmare.
I have always been prone to night terrors, ever since I was a child. But nothing compared to the nightmares I had while staying there, at that house.
Finn wakes up with a gasp. He looks around his empty room, and then creeps out to wander the halls, looking for clues to Laszlo's identity.
Something about Laszlo seemed familiar. I couldn't get the man, or his automatons, out of my head. I knew I would be unable to rest until I discovered the truth.
The hallway is filled with knickknacks and relics from Laszlo's life, as well as newspaper clippings and illustrations of some of his accomplishments. Finn examines several items and pictures throughout the hallway.
Of course. Laszlo Boker, the inventor. It all made sense. No one else could have possibly pulled off those mechanical wonders. There was a time, not too long ago, where you couldn't read a newspaper or walk down the street without hearing about something that was either created or reimagined by Mr. Boker. Then one day he simply disappeared. no one had seen or heard from him in almost 10 years.
Laszlo and Finn sit at the dining room table, eating breakfast directly across from one another. Nora, the automaton, sits in the chair to Laszlo's right. To Laszlo's left sits a second automaton that resembles a young boy between the ages of 9 and 10.
The next morning, I was determined to get my answers.
Finn stares at the second automaton with a puzzled look on his face. Laszlo tries to ignore Finn's annoying curiosity.
How's the coffee? Okay. It's clear you have more questions.
How does waving your hand trigger the speech mechanism?
The internal phonograph is triggered by the interruption of light beams that come into my automatons through their eyes.
Laszlo demonstrates, waving his hands in front of the two automatons' faces.
Hello?
Do you want to play?
There. You see?
But why? Why make them in the first place?
They're my assistants, of course.
Assistants that need to be wound up every hour don't seem very effective.
Well, you're right about that.
Let me stay for a while. I'm a fantastic cook, and by the looks of this place, you could use someone to tidy up as well. And the best part is, you won't ever need to wind me up. I ask for no payment, only shelter and food for the time I'm here.
For the next several weeks, I lived at the house, doing all manner of chores and general maintenance. While my days were full of wonder and discovery, my nights were nothing but terror and unrest. I found myself plagued by nightmares every night. Disturbing and dark images that I was unable to decipher.
Finn investigates a dirty, old, empty subterranean laboratory. At first, all of the tables in the laboratory appear to be bare. Random flashes of light fill the room. Every time the lab illuminates, pieces of scientific equipment appear, then vanish again with the dissipation of the light. Finn hears the sound of Nora crying coming from the large center table. He slowly approaches it. He begins to hear the sound of Istvan crying as well. The closer he gets, the louder Nora and Istvan's sobs become, until finally, Finn reaches the table. Suddenly, there is another flash of light, and for a split second, Finn can see Nora and Istvan lying on the table, bleeding. Nora's head quickly whips around to face Finn.
Why won't you let us die?
Finn wakes up from his nightmare, once again gasping for air. After a moment, he gets up out of bed and leaves the room.
There would be no more sleep that night. So I decided to seek out Laszlo for counsel. Perhaps there was some scientific reason for my visions.
The door creaks open and he can see lights flickering from within the room. Finn slowly enters the bedroom. The source of the flickering light is a primitive film being projected on the wall by the automaton Nora. She sits on a sofa, perfectly still, while the film projects from one of her eyes. Laszlo sits next to her, watching the film, sobbing.
I had never seen anything like it. Moving pictures made with light. I was so captivated by the sight. I almost didn't notice what the images were revealing.
The images projected are of Nora and Istvan, only they are completely human in the film. The film is very short and plays over and over again in a loop. In the whole movie, we only get a chance to hear Nora say,
Hello.
and Istvan saying,
Do you want to play?
They were real. They lived.
Laszlo turns to Finn, surprised by his presence.
Yes, they lived. They were my everything. My beautiful wife, Nora, and our son, Istvan. They were taken from me. Back then, I spent hours in my workshop just tinkering with whatever I could. I was obsessed with finding the next great discovery. My wife often accused me of loving my work more than her, which of course wasn't true. One night, I arrived home late to find my house had been burglarized. I frantically searched for my family, only to find that I was too late. They had been killed. How could humanity allow this to happen? That's when I decided to leave it all behind. I came here, and I built my new family, and finally, after years of work, I've been able to successfully transfer a small piece of their souls into their new bodies. And soon I will truly have my family back.
But how?
I'll show you.
Laszlo leads Finn into his basement laboratory. The laboratory is set up exactly how it was in his nightmare. On the table where Nora and Istvan's bodies were, sits 2 human brains, which are held in large glass jars filled with some kind of fluid. There are electrical wires leading from the brains to other equipment around the lab.
This is all that remains of my family. I've managed to keep their brains alive, to preserve their souls.
By preserving the brain?
But of course, where do you suppose the soul of a man resides? If not the brain, then where?
Laszlo continues to explain as he moves around the lab, switching on steam engine-powered technology and lighting Bunsen burners.
I've discovered that by sending electrical current through the living brain, it is possible to extract recorded memories from the subject. You see, that's what we were viewing upstairs, a memory.
Laszlo steps over to the center table. He takes the end of a wire that is connected to the floating brains and connects it to a small metal box with a turn dial on it. He hands the box to Finn. He then runs over to the other side of the room and turns on what looks to be a primitive radio with an attached hand crank. Laszlo begins to turn the crank. The sound from the video that was playing upstairs blares through the speakers of the primitive radio. Laszlo gestures to Finn, telling him to turn the dial.
Do you see? We are listening to the actual memories plucked from the mind of my dearly departed wife. With every turn of the dial, I can monitor and record another piece of our history. When I finally finish transferring every last memory, I will truly have her back.
Finn is speechless. He can't help himself but to continue turning the dial and listening to the various audio memories.
No, don't. You'll get water everywhere. Istvan, where are you now? Supper is ready. He's your son. He just wants to be with you. Yes, you can drop the delivery here. Laszlo, you're never home. No! Ah! No! No! Why won't you let us die?
Finn recognizes the sound from his nightmares. It was Nora and Istvan's painful screams.
That's when it all made sense. Suddenly, I understood what my dreams were trying to tell me.
Laszlo runs over to switch the dial to a different channel.
Forgive me. I can't bear to hear that again. I believe it is the memory of my poor wife's last moments.
You're mistaken, sir. That is the sound of your family now, in the present. What you're doing is causing them great pain. You must stop these experiments at once.
Don't be absurd. My family is dead.
Not yet. You've trapped them in hell. They cannot see nor touch. They don't know where they are, and they're in constant pain.
Stop it. Shut up, boy.
You must release them.
Finn quickly starts to pull wires from the jarred brains and smashing the equipment connected.
Stop. They're all I have.
Laszlo lunges at Finn, causing him to knock over the center table, smashing the jarred brains to the floor. Laszlo looks at the destroyed brains, then at Finn on his back on the floor. He is overcome with rage. He jumps on the top of Finn and starts to choke him. Laszlo continues to choke Finn. Finn tries to force Laszlo off him, but to no avail. Laszlo is about to squeeze the life out of him.
They were all I had.
Finn, left with no other options, grabs a large glass shard from the shattered jar and reluctantly stabs Laszlo just under the ribs and into his lungs. Laszlo gasps for air as blood pours out of his mouth. He is dead seconds later. 1952. Elderly Finn lays on his deathbed, finishing his story to the priest who sits next to him.
When finally I left, I set the house ablaze and planned to never return, and I never did. Please, tell me, Father, is there ever a justification to take a life, if not just to save my own, but in an attempt to save two others? I believe if I knew definitively that what I did, I would finally be able to rest. Tell me, Father, am I a monster or a savior?
I'm afraid I don't have an answer for you, my son. Every savior is another man's monster. Good and evil is black and white only to God. Unfortunately, it's merely shades of gray to us mortals. All I can say is, I forgive you. As for the Lord, I'm afraid you'll just have to wait and see.
The end.
Chilling.
And if you enjoyed that, there will be another Tattered Tales in 4 weeks. So basically, every 4 episodes, we do one. It's usually at the end of the month.
Sweet.
And finally, our last thing we're doing today is some entertainment pop culture headlines. We actually have a lot of fun stuff. So here we are. Earthling Entertainment headlines.
Alan Tudyk is awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. It actually says Alan Tudyk reprises his role as Clayface in the new DCU.
Noise. Yeah, because he plays Clayface in the Harley Quinn cartoon. Very good.
He's the man. I love Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, Firefly. He was in A Knight's Tale. Which one you say? Oh, it's Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball.
That's right. This comes to us from IGN.com. Firefly star Alan Tudyk is already confirmed to play Dr. Phosphorus in James Gunn and Peter Safran's DCU opener Creature Commandos,
which is an HBO animated series, but does firmly take place in the new DCEU.
But he's now confirmed to also be playing Clayface in the show, and maybe even in the Superman movie. Tudyk told Rotten Tomatoes that Gunn asked him to play Clayface in Creature Commandos, as he already played the character in, like Joe said, Harley Quinn, though said the two versions are very different, which makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I play Clayface in this series, Tudyk put plainly, noting that his Harley Quinn version is an idiot, but in this case, Clayface is a killer. He's a homicidal maniac. So it's the same character. That's really cool about DC. I get to play the actual same character two completely different ways, and I like them both. It's really nice that James let me play Clayface. I didn't even have to ask. What makes his admission to playing Clayface in Creature Commandos is even more interesting that Tudyk is also all but confirmed to appear in the live-action Superman movie in a mystery role.
Yeah, I want to interject, though. They're about to say something that's very true, where James Gunn said that if you're voicing a character, you're going to be that character. So by him being Clayface and Creature Commandos, it does imply that he will be in the live action universe.
Yeah.
Now, since Superman is the first movie that's coming out in the live action universe, everyone is speculating that everybody who's cast in the DCEU is going to show up in that movie. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think maybe when The Brave and the Bold, which is the James Gunn Batman movie, I figure when that comes out, maybe we'll see him as Clayface. But I don't think we're going to have a Superman movie where it's just endless cameos of characters. I mean, although it does seem like there's a lot of characters. They have the Green Lanterns. They have a lot going on in that movie already. So you're going to tell me that Clayface is going to be in it too? I don't see that.
I mean, if they did, it would track though, because he was K2SO, which was like a giant, Imperial droid,
That's true.
and he did a killer job on that. So I could see him doing it.
Well, yeah, because I see what you're saying. Because Clayface definitely would have to be like a motion capture, and he
Yep.
has done that before. So yeah, totally.
I could see it. Deadline reported as such in September, and Gunn himself all but said so at the Creature Commandos New York City Comic-Con panel. Since he won't be playing Dr. Phosphorus in the film, and Gunn has already said he wants DCU actors playing the same roles across multiple projects, Clayface could be a likely option. Clayface can shapeshift his appearance to anyone. However,
It's a shape-shifting themed episode, man.
Right. So he and the Dr. Phosphorus could be one and the same. Superman otherwise stars David Cornsweet.
Yeah, David Cornsweet. Weirdest name I ever heard. I never heard that before this guy, but it seems like it's appropriate because Clark Kent is from like a farm community.
Huh.
So a guy playing him where it's like David Cornsweet. Be like, all right, actually that's perfect.
What's your name? Cornsweet.
It's actually perfect.
So he plays Superman. Rachel Brosnan as Lois Lane. Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern, and more.
And more. Nathan Fillion, of course, plays Mel in Firefly. Oh, yeah, and I guess he did The Rookie and Castle and a bunch of other way more successful shows.
I just need to start watching these shows that you reference, because you reference Firefly often, and I've never seen it.
That's because I'm a brown coat, sir.
Yes.
And someday you'll know what that means.
I was going to say, I do not know what that means.
It would be the equivalent of being a Star Wars fan and being like, I'm a rebel. I'm a brown coat. So imagine in that show there was a big civil war in the universe where where a bunch of center planets wanted to take over all the outer planets and make everybody under one rule, and then the outer planets were rebelling like, no, we want to be independent. Well, the outer planets lost, and then now we're in kind of a weird police state universe, and these guys are just like run and gun opportunists, pirate crew who just takes jobs and tries to survive. And that's the ragtag team, man. It's cowboys in space.
Sounds good.
Yeah, watch Firefly.
I should.
Yeah. You know what else you should watch?
What?
The new episodes of The Simpsons have actually gotten pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the veteran people is actually leaving the show soon. And yeah, that brings us to headline number 2.
Milhouse voice actor retires from The Simpsons after 35 years. Huh? This comes to us from Variety.com. The Simpsons voice actor Pamela Hayden, who played Milhouse and a variety of other characters, announced she is retiring from the show after 35 years. Her final episode will be Treehouse of Horror Presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes, airing November 24th of this year.
Yeah, they're doing 2 Treehouse of Horrors, which is kind of nice because the one that came out in like the early November this year, it was bad. I did not enjoy it.
Oh, bummer.
So them doing another one, it's like you guys got a second chance, and it's the last episode with Milhouse. So I want to watch.
Simpsons is one of those shows where I think if I came across it, but obviously cable doesn't exist anymore. But it was like if I came
It's
across
on Disney
it, I would,
Plus. You watch Star Wars everything. What are you talking about?
That like takes a decision now, and like I just don't know if I'd ever choose Simpsons. I guess that's my point. So I guess it would be like if I were over here, Joe, and you put Simpsons on, I'd sit and be like, like I'd like it. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah, you enjoy it, but you don't seek it out. I do get what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Hayden voiced Milhouse Van Houten, the blue-haired best friend of Bart Simpson, as well as the school bully Jimbo Jones, Ned Flanders' son Rod, and sometimes his other son Todd. Chief Wiggum's wife, Sarah, and Lisa's friend, Janie Powell.
Besides for Milhouse, I don't think too many of these, like, you're going to notice. But Milhouse was prominent.
Yeah, he was very, very prominent. She has been a mainstay on The Simpsons since its very first episode in 1989. And she is credited in 694 episodes of the animated sitcom.
Oh my God. I remember vividly when they were doing their celebration for the 300th episode. It was this big thing, and they kept saying on Fox, they're like, on Fox, the 300th episode. And it was the Garbage Man one where Homer takes over the Garbage Man. Like, who can the Garbage Man can?
I actually do know that reference.
Yeah, because we were young. It was like high school, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
middle
remember that.
school. It was a while. I mean, obviously they had 300 more episodes since then.
I like barely remember it. Like I know like the old like my eyes, the goggles, they do nothing.
The goggles, they do nothing. You know, dude, that's so early Simpsons.
Like,
that's like
that's-
within the first 10 that was within the first 10 seasons. That was
Like,
so early.
I'm not like that's where I left off. That's how behind I am. I have no idea.
Well, they're on season 36.
Jesus Christ. So Fox will now begin casting her characters. People come up to me and they quote Milhouse lines, Hayden said in a video announcing her retirement, which included a montage of Milhouse clips. People are always saying what a nerd he is, but one thing that I love about Milhouse is he's always getting knocked down.
But he
keeps-
gets up again. You're never gonna keep him down. He gets knocked down. But he gets up again. You're never gonna keep him down. Pissing the night away.
But he keeps getting up. I love that little guy.
Chumbawamba's the soundtrack to my fucking life.
That's right. Like, dude, if you don't like Chumbawamba, you can get out.
Actually, that's a quote from The Ringer, starring Johnny Knoxville, where he fixes the Special Olympics. That's right. That was a real movie.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
Well, you know, that movie's a guilty pleasure, but I want to say Catherine Hahn had a character who was dating this guy, and he was supposed to be a big old douchebag. So they kept playing Chumbawamba every time he showed up. And, like, I feel like it must have been an improv line because it's, like, later in the movie, somewhere close to the third act, he's, like, headbanging in the car with his friends, and they're all singing, like, you know, pissing the night away. And he's just, Chumbawamba's the soundtrack to my fucking life. It was,
Excellent.
yeah.
So-
Anyways,
so
this
yes.
woman's retiring.
She's retiring, and The Simpsons is currently airing its 36th season on Fox.
Wow. I
What-
kind of
What a
spoiled
run.
that by saying it earlier, but yeah.
But what a run.
But what a run indeed.
I wonder how long they could possibly go.
I don't know, but you know, sometimes things just have a lot of like they just keep going, like sequels,
do.
like horror movies, for
They-
instance. They just make more and more and more of those.
And I don't even know why half the time, but here we are at headline number 3. Isabel May joins Scream 7 as Sydney's daughter. This comes to us from Fangoria.com. Isabel May, 1883?
Yeah, she was in a show. 1883 is a spin-off show of Yellowstone.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I didn't get the reference.
Well, it takes place. They're cowboys. That was the year. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. She's from 1883.
So Isabel May from 1883 is set to play the daughter of Nev Campbell's Sidney Prescott in the upcoming Scream 7. Ooh. Get ready to scream again, as previously reported. The next entry into the legendary slasher franchise will be directed by series co-creator and Scream 1996 writer Kevin Williamson and is set for release on February 27th, 2026 via Paramount.
Yeah.
May, joining as Sydney's daughter, supports what we already know about Scream 7 being a Sydney-focused story again, and also likely means that Patrick Dempsey will be returning to his role as Sydney's husband and May's father, Mark Kincaid.
Yeah, Kincaid. Every time I hear that name, I just think of there's a big African-American guy from the fourth Freddy Krueger movie.
Yeah.
Who's got, I'm Kincaid. I love that character.
That does sound like that character.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Kincaid. Alongside May,
Anyways, back to this horror
and
movie.
it said, yeah, back to the horror movie Scream 7 with Isabel May. Alongside May, Campbell, and possibly Dempsey, Courtney Cox is also reportedly in talks to return to her fan favorite role as Gale Weathers.
They really kind of made it seem like Gale Weathers, spoiler, may have died in the last one. So, but they did the same thing. So, okay, this is a little bit of spoilers for the Scream franchise. They did the same thing with the character Kirby. Kirby Reed was a character who was in Scream 11. No, 11. 2011, excuse me. She was in Scream 4. Her character, they killed her. And then they brought her back for like Scream 6. And then she just lifted up her shirt and there was a scar. And she's like, I died for 3 minutes. And you're like, oh, she's a badass FBI agent now.
I just feel like you just fast forward just 20 years and it's like Scream 11.
I'm still screaming. They're doing another
screaming.
They're doing another I Know What You Did Last Summer. Which I don't know as a fact, but has to be named I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, right? Because you can't be like, I know what you did 36 summers ago.
I'm pretty certain I remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, because that character that was the killer was supposed to be old at that. Never mind. They bring back Michael Myers, and he was like in his 70s in the last one. All right, I take it back. Anyways, back to this horror franchise.
While we're not getting our hopes up just yet, Matthew Lillard has also said he's down to return if it makes sense.
Basically, if they pay him enough and if the story isn't shit. I mean, it's really not that hard, right? Like, Stu was the character in the first Scream movie, and he was...
My mom's going to be so mad at me.
Exactly. He was a fun killer, right? So to bring him back, you'd have to be like, oh, he didn't really die. He's been in a mental hospital or something. And you'd have to be like, you have to come up with a reason to like why they would cover up his, like, Stu's father was actually a senator. Like, why, how else would, because everyone thinks he's dead.
Somehow.
I'm not saying it. Somehow.
Stu returned.
Stu has returned.
That's it. That's all you need.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you need something like great, but you do need a little better than that.
I mean, it makes sense, right? You never saw him like zipped up into a body bag. And so, I mean, it would make sense that maybe they were like, holy crap, this one's alive.
Well, the big thing is they basically rebooted this series with Scream 5. It had the Jenna Ortega character and it had her sister character. I forget the character's name. But the point is, these people, they were like the new focus. So even though we had our legacy characters of of Dewey and, you know, Nev Campbell's character, Sydney, and even though we had the legacy characters, they kind of reestablished these new ones as the focus. So now that no one's coming back, they're like, oh shit, we got to refocus on this old one to make it make sense. I think a good way you do that is bring back Hayden Panettiere, who played Kirby Reed in the number 4, number 6, because she was an FBI agent, number 6, like I was just discussing. So if she came back in number 7, she could be that connective tissue between the Jenna Ortega films and our Nev Campbell films. And that would be a more cohesive franchise, in my opinion.
You know what I'm about to say? I dropped off after the second one, so I'm just hearing you out, and it sounds good.
Right. So, yep.
That's whatever you said for you.
All right.
So, Scream 7, if you've watched them all, will be a departure from the previous 2 entries in the series, Scream and Scream. Ryan doesn't know.
They're just going to, okay, basically I already recapped everything they're about to say.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
So I will say that the whole headline, the reason why we started talking is they're bringing
He just wanted me to have to read another Roman numeral because he knew I'd fuck that up.
Yeah, so Isabella May is joining the cast as Sidney Prescott's daughter, which I'm down for. It makes sense if you're going to refocus on Sidney to expand the family and to kind of make it more personal. Because obviously, if your daughter's in the stakes, that's high stakes for you. You're going to care more.
I wonder if there was a person who invented the Scream mask. Specific, like, are they getting paid for all this?
I don't know the details, but that mask totally existed before the movie Scream. It was just a generic Halloween mask, right?
They probably got so ripped off.
I don't know. We'd have to look it up because there had to be some kind of deal. I don't think you could just make something and it's just fair use. I mean, I don't know if you have to copyright it, but I feel like they had to have made some kind of deal with the filmmakers.
Right? I don't know. I can't help but wonder.
Wonder indeed. If I remember, I'll look it up and I'll give you an answer on next week's
I was
show.
gonna
But I
say,
got to be
what-
honest, there's no guarantee I'll remember.
Yeah, no guarantee at all.
I mean, remembering something like that is tough. It's like remembering cartoons and stuff from your
Oh,
childhood.
gosh.
Yeah.
Why? Like, I keep asking why, but I don't want to be a party pooper here for anyone who's excited. So,
Headline number 4.
Ryan Reynolds is making a movie based on a forgotten cartoon classic. This comes to us from MovieWeb.com. Mighty Mouse
Da-da-da.
is on
Here I come to save the day.
is on his way to the big screen, and Ryan Reynolds is here to save the day. Mighty Mouse debuted in 1942 as Super Mouse, a superhero mouse that is a cross between Mickey Mouse and Superman. The character starred in 80 theatrical shorts from 1942 to 1961 and experienced a resurgence in popularity thanks to his 1955 Saturday morning cartoon. While the character has seemingly fallen out of popularity, Paramount Pictures is looking to relaunch the tiny hero with the help of a big superhero actor.
I got to be honest, though. I don't know what this article is talking about. All I hear is kids talking about Mighty Mouse.
Oh,
there
yeah.
are Mighty Mouse fanatics out there. Yeah.
I don't think I've watched one
Mighty Mouse?
Mighty Mouse.
I'm sure I
cartoon.
did when I was a kid, right? They had to, you had to have aired them on like Cartoon Network and stuff. In
That
the
was
90s.
like the era of like Popeye.
Yeah, no, it was
Or
like
was
the
that
40s.
earlier than that?
No, it was like the 40s to the 60s. I mean, they're literally going to tell you, so we should probably keep reading.
Like Felix the Cat. That's a real old. There's an oldie I remember.
You know, Felix the Cat, an image of Felix the Cat was the first image broadcast.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that because I was a part of WDHS, which was a film program in our high school. It
That's
was
right.
Dearborn High School. And in that film program, back in the day, it was run by a gentleman named Russ Gibb, and he did a lot of things. He did shows in Detroit, like I guess for the Who and all this other stuff. He was a huge music guy, and he donated a lot of money to the school, and he's a great guy. But anyways, he made this program, and they had a giant statue of Felix the Cat. And every time you join the class, any new person who joins the class, they're like, "Hey, you know what that is?" Yeah, it's a big cat. And it was like, "Oh yeah, Felix the Cat." And they give you the whole history behind it. You were in that class. Do you have any? Because someone had to have done that to you.
I imagine that maybe it happened because I was in a weird class with the younger teacher. Gosh, I can't remember his
No,
name
you were
at
just in the first part of it. Like you
Yeah.
had to do like the prerequisite before you got into the studio.
And I don't think I had the time because that was only my senior year half the day.
You're right. So you had already missed the boat on doing the
yeah.
full thing.
But I did enjoy it, and I can't believe that they allowed me to leave school in my car and like be trusted to not go to Taco Bell and
Well, we went to Taco Bell every day.
yeah, that
So
was lunch.
what he's
every
talking
day.
about is our school electives were so varied that they had auto shop, they had nursing programs, they had it was because the hometown is Henry Ford's hometown. He put a lot of money in the schools. The point is we got to travel from one school to the other during lunchtime, and because there was 3 lunches because it was such a large school, that ended up being like an hour and a half of time between these 2 classes. So we could go to Taco Bell every day.
Yep, and then we would go to Dearborn High with bellies full of half-pound bean burrito especial for only 99 cents.
Yeah, and my senior year, I spent half the day pretty much in film class. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Like-
it was fun. I remember those. Those are good times. So
Yeah,
back to Ryan Reynolds making.
Hold on. I want to say this real quick though. Our show, we're going to do a commercial for another podcast of our show soon. And part of me really, I don't want to offend anyone because I am diagnosed with ADD, so I'm allowed to say this. But I really want to just put it in the commercial, be like the most ADD host you'll ever listen to.
We are all over
They
the place.
randomly go on tangents.
But if you listen, chances are that's probably your favorite part.
It is a lot of fun. It's quite enjoyable.
For me, I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I like doing that. I like doing this.
Speaking of Ryan Reynolds making Mighty Mouse,
Yeah. According to Variety, Paramount Animation has enlisted Ryan Reynolds' production company, Maximum Effort, to produce a Mighty Mouse movie. Matt Lieberman, who previously co-wrote Reynolds' 2021 film Free Guy, will pen the script. I thought that was a pretty good movie.
yeah, it was good.
Lieberman is no stranger to family films, as his other writing credits include Scoob, The Addams Family, and The Christmas Chronicles. While Reynolds is signed on as a producer, it is currently unknown if he will star in the film and voice the titular character. Though it is impossible to imagine otherwise given his track record.
Yeah, I imagine if you got Ryan Reynolds like being producer, it makes sense that I would imagine he's playing Mighty Mouse. It would be weird to have him not. I will say that the writer, I don't mean to disparage anyone else's work, but I wasn't a huge fan of the animated Addams Family, and Scoop was okay, but I'm a
I
big
like the
fan of
first Addams Family movie,
the
the
animated
cartoon
one.
I actually kind of liked all of them.
I may have been holding a grudge because I really wasn't a fan of the animation.
It was different, but I kind of digged it, and they made they made a lot of it, pretty accurate to like the old comics and stuff, where he was like, where Gomez was kind of a chubby guy,
Yeah, and
so
he
they
was a
kinda,
little short and stocky.
yeah, they kind of really did. They nailed a lot of it. Pugsley was pretty good. Like they did pretty good. There was funny parts to it. My kids liked it. Maybe that's why I'm a little biased.
Oh, fair enough. See, that's the thing, right? If your kids like it, like there's this movie that I watched called Migration, and it's just it's a bunch of ducks and they're
Yes.
migrating, and my kid loves it so much, and now I've seen it quite a bit. But hey,
It's a masterpiece.
that's pretty much the end of the article there, guys, and that brings us to our final headline of the show.
Oh no.
Oh no! But hey, I hope you enjoyed everything you heard, and I also hope you enjoyed a little Netflix franchise known as what is it? Elena Holmes?
Enola?
Enola Holmes. I have seen these movies, but I always have trouble saying that name.
I have never. Enola Holmes 3 is on the way.
Woo, if you're a fan.
This comes to us from Collider.com. When it comes to major Netflix franchises, one of the more popular in recent memory has been Enola Holmes. Spinning out of the adventurous world of Sherlock Holmes, the film series has proved to be a major starring vehicle for Stranger Things' Millie Bobby Brown.
Which is good because she needs a starring vehicle. Let's be honest. Stranger Things is going to have its next and final season. And she was in a Godzilla movie. I know that. And that movie was okay. But what is she doing? She did Damsel on Netflix. Enola Holmes is great. And I'm glad she's doing a third one. I really think she's got to get out of Netflix, though. I mean, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to work for the one company if you're a film person. You could, diversify. Unless you have a contract. Continue.
Yeah.
I just think she needs to get out and do more acting stuff because honestly,
The future's got to be looking bright.
Well, to be fair, she just got married and she got married to like Bon Jovi's kid or something like that. So I really think she's not like her life is set. She's good. She's never has to worry about money. But if you want to continue acting, I think she needs to spread her wings.
Your love is like bad medicine.
Woo!
Bad medicine. Sorry. Enola Holmes 2 delighted audiences in 2022, and we've known a third film has been in the works for a while. Now it looks like Enola Holmes 3 is finally gaining momentum as the film has found its director, Philip Barantini. Reported exclusively by Deadline, Brown is also expected to return as the title detective, as this is being lined up as her next project after Stranger Things wraps on its final season. Legendary Entertainment once again behind the project with Mary Parent, Ali Mendez, and Alex Garcia producing. Brown will also return as a producer on the project.
That makes sense. That means she's getting paid. That may have been a contract stipulation. She's like, I'll do a third one, but I'm producing. It happens. It usually happens with TV shows too. Like if you notice any star of a major show, by like season 3 or 4, they're a producer on the show.
Well, it makes sense. You can work that into your contract. It's another check mark on your IMDb, like your credits, right?
Yeah. Well, and a check. Another
and
check.
And another check. Right. There's no plot details yet for Enola Holmes 3, but the one thing Deadline did mention about the upcoming sequel is that Barantini's vision may go a bit darker than when the previous 2 installments did.
I like that. I think they should. Give it some spice.
Enola Holmes as a franchise has skewed in the younger action comedy genre, but this film's pitch was compared to another more mature third take on a franchise. That would be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Second time we've mentioned Harry Potter on today's podcast.
That's true, but I will say that they're saying, like, compared to the first two Harry Potter films, the third one was dark compared to the first two. Not that the third one was, like, really dark.
That's true, but it was very different. It wasn't
was
so
different.
kiddie. It wasn't so fun.
Well, if you notice, that was the one where it's like suddenly the kids were wearing normal clothes and they weren't
Yeah.
in their robes every second of every day.
And apparently Harry Potter was drunk half the scenes around that time, I think.
I don't think so, because around that time he was like 14.
Okay, maybe the next movie, or the one after that, or the one after that. I forget which one. It's one of them. It was a whole thing.
I have never heard that, but all right.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple scenes where he admits he was flat out wasted.
I'm not saying you're wrong, because I just never heard that.
It's awesome.
Continue.
This would also make sense from a story perspective, as Enola is now a seasoned detective, just like her older famous brother.
That's right. She's a full-blown D.
That's right.
A full-blown detective.
It'll be exciting to see where they take this darker direction and how far they aim to push it. Another key aspect.
Push it real good.
Another key aspect to Enola's success has been Henry Cavill's Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, he did do a good job in the film.
The chemistry that Cavill and Brown share in the first two films has been endlessly entertaining. There's no mention of Cavill returning yet. With his star power also on the rise, this may be an adventure where Enola is on her own. Fans are just going to have to wait and see for that one. While fans wait to find out more information about Enola Holmes 3, you can now stream the first two films on Netflix.
I mean, that makes sense. They made the movies. Of course, they're going to have them streaming available.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I liked him. I think, okay, well, one, I think that they always have Sherlock Holmes films because it's public domain and you could do anything you want with Sherlock Holmes. And Enola Holmes, I think, actually was based on a book. Like, there was a book about Sherlock Holmes' younger sister. I mean, the first movie was charming. It's very of its time as far as, like, you know, I'm the young girl power kind of situation, and they do it well. And I did like Henry Cavill in it. So it's like, if you're a fan of that franchise, go forth. You know what the best Sherlock Holmes was, though, Ryan?
Oh, I already know.
Sherlock Holmes in the 24th or 23rd century. It was an animated show.
This is not where I was going to go.
That was from the early 90s, where Sherlock Holmes was taken into a futuristic London, and it was very cyberpunky. And
I'll bet it was.
I don't remember if he was a full-on cyborg, but Watson definitely had a robot arm.
Why wouldn't he?
It was fantastic.
Let's not mention, Robert Downey Jr.'s rendition of Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, he did okay.
That was so good. Those two movies were so amazing. There was supposed to be a third one, and they kind of just fell apart.
They're still saying that it'll happen someday. I don't know if
I
it
hope
will.
so. It was so good. That is my favorite rendition of Sherlock Holmes ever. And
I'm-
Book of Shadows was great. The second one was amazing.
Fair enough. I still think that the best version of Sherlock Holmes that I personally have seen, and this is not a hot take, Sherlock. I really liked the BBC's that. Yeah.
With
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bilbo was Watson in that.
That's right.
Martin Freeman? Martin
Yes.
Freeman.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so.
Anyways, that was really good. But seriously, Sherlock Holmes in like the 23rd or 4th or 5th or something century.
So, speaking of streaming, I just looked up. It looks like they're going to be releasing the new Star Wars Skeleton Crew a day early. They're going to release 2 episodes on December 2nd.
That is some juicy news.
I'm excited for that because this is new Star Wars. I feel like, everyone dumped so hard on Acolyte. I'm really hoping that people come together and just give this a shot. Go into it with an open mind.
Open your heart, open your mind to new wars.
It's a coming of age film.
Yeah.
In Star Wars and
Yeah, they are trying something new, and I do like the kid cast. It's very Emblem Entertainment, like me. I mean, like everyone has said. Yeah, it feels very ragtag group of kids, a Stranger Things vibe. I'm down.
I'm down for that too, and I honestly really think it's going to be good because they have so much opportunity to just make what I always say, make a great story. There's so much Star Wars lore and everything. Just make a great story and put it in Star Wars. Make it work. Add what you have to add. like you can't go wrong. Like just like it just bums me out that it
Yeah.
seems like the chemistry just hasn't been right yet.
Well, you know what?
In a while, they had it.
Well, I don't know if they're going to get a port for Nintendo Switch, but the Star Wars Outlaws game, which I've been playing, fantastic Star Wars because
Yeah.
it starts out and you were on the casino planet from The Last Jedi. Was it something Canto? Canto Bight.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, and this character basically just survives and gets through the criminal underground of Star Wars. There's a lot of stealth. There's a lot of like shooting, sneaking in, stealing stuff. It's a lot of fun.
I saw a lot
You
of
try-
gameplay.
Yeah, you're trying to like raise your your credibility, your popularity with the Pike Syndicate and the
Sweet.
Crimson Dawn Syndicate and the Hutts, and you get to like play them against each other. A lot of fun.
So it's like being a normal person in Star Wars. Like no,
Well, I think it's like being a normal criminal in Star Wars, but yeah.
but yeah, like no powers, no force.
We could take it a step further, Ryan. We should get a game designed like The Sims, straight up The Sims. You could be different species, but you're living on what is it? What's this public city, the big one?
Oh, Coruscant.
Yeah, so you're living on Coruscant, and depending on how you socially climb is whether you're on the upper levels of Coruscant or if you get below, like down to the hellscape, buried like surface levels where there's giant monsters and worms and shit.
But there'd be like perks, each way. Like there'd be perks to being, up top, but there'd also be perks being down because you probably have more connections.
I don't know, man. You get too down in there, and there's only like straight up mutants that live there. Like there's some deep, dark places of Coruscant. There are levels down in Coruscant that they don't even talk about. There is some dark lore. Do a deep dive online about like the lower levels of Coruscant. I'm not kidding. It blew my fucking mind.
Dude, it is like the Jetsons just existed, like just on the outskirts of Coruscant, because everybody like lived kind of up in the clouds.
Yeah, the Jetsons, were they implying that the whole world got flooded? Because that's what I thought.
I thought, yeah, it was along those lines, or that it was toxic. That it was just a bad future. Like, yeah, they don't really mention it, like, other than just like, you never see the ground. You never do.
No. I don't think you have.
I don't think ever, and not on Earth, not where they live.
Just to continue with this ADD train, you know what else we got is they made the Flintstones movie in 1993, I think, and they made the sequel in the early 2000s, and it was Flintstones, the Viva Rock Babies. But have you ever thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to do the same thing with the Jetsons? Like, we have the technology now to do like a retro futuristic, like live action Simpsons where it's still cartoony like the Flintstones movie.
Oh, that's coming. I guarantee that's coming. I guarantee a live action Jetsons is coming. I guarantee that's coming because they don't come up with new things. They wait until it's free and then they use it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Hanna-Barbera, I have to imagine, because Hanna-Barbera was the company, right? And Hanna and Barbera were the last names of the two guys who did the company. Well,
yeah.
I imagine they're both dead, but I imagine the state is still in charge. So I think they're probably, milking the IP. But why have we never seen any kind of Jetsons? I don't even remember. And I've been into like, film stuff since I was in high school. So the point is I've always read the trades. I've never heard of anyone even developing or trying to pitch a Jetsons movie. I wonder if it's held up in rights or something weird, or if they didn't think they could do it financially. I don't know.
I could see it. Who would you cast as George Jetson?
Oh man, that's tough. I would have to see.
Bryan Cranston's too old now, right?
No, I'm thinking Topher Grace.
Who's that?
Eric Matthews from That 70s Show.
Oh.
Tall, skinny. I think he's got to be the right age. I mean, the guy was a father. He wasn't like an old man.
That tracks. I'll go to another oldie that we talk about a lot. What about Devon Sawa? He might be too old.
I don't think he's too old. I could see that. I would want to find a different role for him though, personally.
Yeah, because he's not wild. You got to get a guy that can do the stop this crazy thing. You got to get someone who can do that.
True.
So there we go. That's gonna be we haven't done that in a while. Maybe you want
to cast it all. Okay, so Rosie O'Donnell's gonna play Rosie the robot simply because of her name. I can't lie. She has a recognizable voice, and her name is Rosie.
Can I please Melissa McCarthy as a runner-up if she refuses the role?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Charlize Theron as the mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I gotta say Danny DeVito as the boss.
Oh my God, Danny DeVito always as a
He would be
Mr.
the-
Sprocket.
Yeah, where he's like,
Why do I remember that shit? All right, that's awesome.
Like he would
Oh,
be perfect.
Devin Sawa could be the dog, Astro.
Okay, and then runner up Alan Tudyk in a suit.
Alan Tudyk. Well, I don't want him in a suit.
I do.
Oh man. All right. So Judy, so she's got white hair. So it could be anybody of any nationality because you'd be bleaching their hair white regardless. So it's all on the table. So she's a teenager. I don't know that many teenage actors, right?
Yeah.
Like I really genuinely don't know. So off the top of my head, because I can't think of anyone else, Jenna Ortega.
There you go. And get the dude from The Sopranos, the kid, to be Elroy.
That kid is like 40 now. You can't
Damn.
get someone from the past.
Damn.
You got to get someone now.
You're right. I have no idea.
Elroy. All right. So I'm going to say, all right, there. I don't know his name, but he
Oh.
was a kid in Good Boys, and he
The
plays
kid from-
Raphael in the new Ninja Turtles.
The kid from Stranger Things with the teeth and the
Yeah,
curly
once
hair.
again, he's like 25 now.
That would work, though. We could cast it because we're already kind of casting
I
a
don't
little
think
older.
so, man, because that kid's supposed to be like 10 years old.
Well, already, Danny DeVito's really, like, we're already kind of casting, so we could do, like, a futuristic movie.
We can't just age up one character.
We could
This
age
is-
them all up.
No!
Why not?
Because then we would. Why would we?
Because it's never been done.
But we don't need to because we never did a first one.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be
Okay,
brilliant.
All right, fine. I'll run with you on this one. If we're doing that,
We're
then
gonna
the
make them
movie
older.
then the movie is going to be George and his wife and all them as grandparents, and then the kids will be adults, and then we get to cast new people as the children.
That would be great.
Okay,
And then we could have antics on all of it. Like, it'd be great.
excellent. Well, with that, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of Earthling Entertainment.
Thank you very much indeed.
Seriously, guys, if you like the show, just please download the episode. It's the best way to support us. And if you want a bumper sticker, email earthlingentertainmentpodcast@gmail.com.
And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to share this podcast with a coworker, with a friend, with a loved one, with a fellow Earthling.
Aha! So, I guess we're it. Huh?
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. See ya, I guess.
Huh?
Bye, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That may have seemed abrupt.
Later, I guess.
Next week.
Whatever you do. Yeah. Bye. Go. Get out of here.
We're
Turn it
done.
off. That's enough. We're done. Stop. They're still listening.
Why?
These sons of bitches.
Why haven't I cut this?
I don't know.
Joe! Cut this!